Lee, you have said that the primary causes of most illnesses usually starts with digestive and elimination issues. Can you help us to understand why this is the primary cause?
Yeah, I can. We know now from a lot of research that by the time we're about 16 years old, our stomach acids start getting weaker. When that starts happening, that is the beginning of all kinds of challenges and digestive issues that will begin and continue on the rest of your life. And by the time we're 30, very typically, enzymes that help break down the food, along with the stomach acids, start diminishing as we get older, at 30 years old and beyond. So those two factors are the key things that aid digestion. And when either one of those becomes weak, then you have a whole cascading effects of challenges ahead of you.
What are some of the signs of poor digestion?
Well, I'll tell you, there's a lot of biochemistry that has to do with this. So I'll go into that first, and then I can give some ideas on what you can look for in your own body in terms of the challenges you might be facing right now. Usually when the stomach acids start getting weak and the enzymes start getting weak, we start becoming B12 deficient. That's one sign. The other thing is we start lacking potassium. And the minerals that we intake with our food don't get taken up into the system. That starts affecting other organs, endocrine system, vascular system, liver. All these things come into play. When you see people that are obese or are putting on weight, they're not absorbing their minerals. They're not uptaking these things from the food. It could be poor diet, could be lots of sugar. A lot of different reasons why people start having these kinds of situations. But one of the key things that we know of is that we're looking at lacking of minerals and lacking of acid that break down the food. If your pH in your stomach is to be at 2.0 or below, that is what breaks down and digests your food. It's like a furnace. If the furnace isn't hot enough, the acid doesn't burn and break down the nutrients and the proteins and the fats, then it becomes debris that is undigested or unprocessed. And then that starts backing up the system. And then you have all kinds of challenges. The other thing that we know of, which starts with people, once the acids are low, a lot of adults and even young people will start taking antacids, bicarbonate soda. That makes it worse. It actually diminishes the acids further and neutralizes it into a weaker state even more so. Even though it gives you temporary relief, if you have heartburn, indigestion, these are just masking the causes for the idea that we have weak stomach acids. When those weak stomach acids start becoming a way of life, so to speak, as it did in my case at a very young age, then you start having other issues. Things that will certainly create problems such as diabetes, cancer, all related to fungus, bacteria, candida, which is all precursors or harbingers of the stomach acids not burning off and creating an environment. So these kinds of fungus, viral, parasites, bacteria can grow and live within the stomach lining and into the intestinal tract. So you see it starts in the stomach, and then when that gets weak, then it creates an environment for all things that we don't want to be the overall influence. Parasites, bacteria, fungal, viral. That starts influencing the body to start going downhill. We go into downhill spirals.
How do I know if I have poor digestion?
Well, there's certainly telltale signs. If you've eaten food, for instance, and all of a sudden, right out the bat, you get bloating. Your stomach starts distending. You start getting uncomfortable. You can feel sleepy or tired after you've eaten a meal, 5 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour later. Some people get pain or gas. Gas is a big thing. And indigestion. Some of the other effects can be at some point, because again, we go back to the weakness of the stomach acids. People will not be able to digest foods that they normally would digest, so they get food sensitivities, and they want to avoid certain foods and start eliminating foods that would be mostly nutritional and beneficial to them. That's another sign, if you have a lot of food sensitivities, that you're more than likely having weak stomach acids. And we need to address that in order to rebalance the system. The other thing is that you'll start seeing we see lots of people with candida, okay, which is a fungus, which has a lot of sugar, carbohydrates, starch, which says that, again, the stomach itself and the lining is not coated enough and holding enough pH, low pH, 2.0 or below, to kill off any of these pathogens that eventually start cascading into more serious illnesses and disease. People use oil pulling, and that works to a certain extent. It kills the bacteria in the mouth. It can sort of help not putting more bacteria or issues down into the stomach or into the intestinal tract, but it doesn't get to the root cause. I hear people, and they call me all the time, they say they have acid reflux. There's another misunderstanding. Acid reflux doesn't mean that you have too much acid. It means you have too little acid going on. And this is something that we can correct. And it's very easy to fix. Most people will take antacids, bicarbonate of soda, thinking that that's going to arrest or take care of the symptoms or the uncomfortableness of acid reflux. But it doesn't, again, get to the cause. And the cause is 99% of the time it's the stomach acids are too weak. So metabolism will also slow down. You'll have food sitting in your stomach for hours, if not sometimes a whole day. And that is, again, telling us that you are not digesting your food. So all of these things relate back to the origination of what we talked about with gut issues. And that is that if the pH in your stomach is not at 2.0 or below, and most people are at 3 and 4, especially if they do sugar and carbohydrates and have a lot of stress, then you are creating an environment that's going to eventually trigger diabetes, heart disease, cancer, autoimmune issues, and a host of other things.
Are elimination issues connected to poor digestion?
Yes. It's all related to the gut. So it starts in the stomach. If you don't break down the foods, you don't have the right biochemical combinations to support the burning of the ash, so to speak, from the food you put in your stomach. These minerals, vitamins, proteins are not taken up into the system. Then what happens is that you get undigested food going down into the colon and then eventually the large intestine. That can create all kinds of other issues: diarrhea, spastic colon, diverticulitis, because these are foods that should be digested and burned off in the stomach first, that don't get burned off or broken down, and then they start leaching into the intestinal tract, and then you have all kinds of other environments for pathogens and negative or bugs that we don't want to be a part of the system that start overtaking us.
Lee, how does your team address digestive and elimination issues? How do you help your clients rebalance these very important systems?
Yeah, we find that the root cause of most of the people that come to see us, and a lot of them have very severe, if not very critical illnesses, we start at the gut. First of all, we can do a simple little test to see if your stomach acids are strong enough, and 99% of the time they're not. In fact, there's hardly anyone we've ever worked with that didn't have some kind of a weak stomach acid situation. That's actually quite a fairly efficient and easy thing to fix. We go through a process, we do a simple test, and then you have to go through the rest of the system systematically to see if there's probiotics that are necessary, if there's parasites and candida, fungus. We go at that and use different nutraceuticals to start rebalancing the system. But you also have to address the other organs and the entire endocrine system and other areas to bring back everything into a higher optimal balance while you're eliminating these issues. And I had mine at 3 days old and didn't find out until I was in my 40s. It took me quite a while to get my system rebalanced because I was acutely ill. And in some cases, you can do this in 2 or 3 days, and sometimes a week or two for people that have had constipation, poor elimination, fatigue, bloating, gas. These all can be addressed quite easily. But again, I will also say that through a team approach, it has to be done systematically, it has to be done therapeutically, and it must be done with a high-grade nutraceutical that's going to really make it the most efficient and the most cost-effective for the client to have success. And this is what we help you with. So if you're interested in that, you can also give us a call or go through our evaluation.